And the next little thing to keep an eye out for on these engines is the oil temperature, especially in the magnesium case engines. They're very sensitive to high oil temperatures, which obviously air-cooled engines do run a little bit warmer than a liquid-cooled motor. And from the factory, the factory oil coolers were pretty much under capacity, or over capacity, sorry, or that they couldn't cool the oil low enough. You preferably want to keep magnesium engines oil temperature below 90, preferably around 80 to 85 degrees Celsius. Anything above 90, 95, 95 to 100, things start to get pretty bad, and you risk the magnesium softening and pulling the case studs, head studs, out of the block.
So that's the most common issue with this era or this particular engine, the magnesium case engine.
Exactly, yeah. You know, the magnesium did save a bit of weight on the motors, but magnesium is a very soft and brittle material compared to aluminum, and when it gets overheated and stressed excessively, it doesn't, I mean, aluminum doesn't have much flex in the first place, but magnesium is even more brittle than that. So one of the main upgrades that's always suggested on an air-cooled Porsche, even if it's not a magnesium engine, is to keep your oil temperatures down, is installing an external oil cooler that hooks up to the so one of the main upgrades that I would suggest anybody do on an air-cooled Porsche, especially the magnesium cases, but even if you have an aluminum case engine, it's ideal for long life, is to add an external oil cooler. And the way the external oil coolers work on these cars, there's various manufacturers that make them, but they hook up to the oil feed and return lines.
So in this particular car, we do not have a oil cooler under the fender.
Correct.
This is the only oil
This
cooler.
is the only oil cooler on these model of cars. Some of the higher performance models, I believe, came with an oil cooler from Porsche, but I don't know that off the top of my head.
So there are two of them: trombone one or the regular, the coil, the
coil. Yeah. This cooler here just gets the air from the fan, blows through the top of the cooler, and I think it's only a couple fins. It does have the engine does flow through the cooler, but it's just not enough, especially under high ambient temperatures and high load applications. If you're in a hilly area, you can easily overheat the motor and destroy all that work you put on the case.
Okay. So let's go to the car and show where the
the cooler hooks up to the feed and return ports. I can't remember if there's an adapter that goes on here. I don't have one of the kits on hand, but it ties into the original cooling system, and then there's a thermostat that will then sense if your oil temperature, I believe, is above 80 is when it starts to open. 80 or 85, I can't remember. And then it starts to feed to the external cooler that you mount at the front of the car. Some units mount in the passenger side fender, and some mount under the front bumper fascia unit, and it all depends on the space, how big of a cooler you decide to go with, and what exactly your budget is. Because obviously the larger coolers with more bends and more fittings and more tailored to fit your car end up costing more. So
let's go take a look.
Car here.
This side, I think it's going on the.
Pop the hood.
Okay.
See where pop the trunk.
Front.
There's no cylinders. There's no shocks on it right now.
Yeah. And also, we can talk about one of the other issues is this air conditioner.
So this being a 75 California car, it had factory AC and had a whole bunch of smog and emissions stuff on it, which did not really help the car at all, especially when these were a little bit susceptible to overheating. So one of the first mods we're going to do in this car is just remove the air conditioning compressor. Didn't come with this motor when we had it, so obviously the AC system probably didn't work, and really this isn't the type of car you would drive if you wanted AC. The car's already, I mean, the car's got decent power, but adding AC to the car, I mean, I've always driven my sports cars with the windows rolled down so you can hear the motor. So first thing we're going to do is just remove the AC cooler, the condenser back here, and just tuck the lines up in the fender here, so that if for any reason you want to go back to AC, you can. Always keep your spare parts. So once we put the motor back in here, the lines tie in on the passenger side of the car. Then there'll be a thermostat assembly that mounts internal to the fender at about this location here. Some of them do mount in the back. It all depends on the kit that's available. And then the lines run from the inside of the fender all the way to the front fender. Not much space here. But there's a set of horns on this car down inside the fender, and the cooler that we're going to put on this car will mount in that location. And we'll have some photos of that once we get to it.
Not much room, right?
No, not much. There are like 10 different types of rads you can choose. Some of them require a little bit of modification to fit on the car, so always try to get the largest one you can afford, but without, some of these cars you don't want to do excessive modifications to, especially
so there is in this particular one, the 44 fin may be the one that is best for this one.
Yeah.
Because it is going under the fender.
Yep.
And otherwise, you can put one under the front.
The front bumper fascia location. There's a spot there on certain models that you can fit.
This one doesn't have that one.
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, so this is, so it did come with the, like you said, with the air conditioning, but however, like you said, Porsche,
yeah, the air conditioning controls are on the dash there, and then I believe the vents below are where the AC condenser evaporator blows through.
Porsches are not known for their air conditioning, right?
No, German air conditioning, especially in this era, wasn't really that powerful. It doesn't get extremely hot in Germany, so they don't need exactly the most powerful air conditioning. And when you bring that over here to North America, especially down in the southern US, they're not always up to par. So if you can live without AC and reap the benefits of the extra little bit of performance you get from not having 10, 15, 20 horsepower drawn from the engine, if not more, for your AC unit, and you always drive the car with the windows down so you can hear the engine, so especially these types of cars. So
we'll have some pictures and video of putting the all the other parts in.
Yep.